Prologue. 3 minutes until death, Dr. Elena Sokolova lay on a hospital bed, counting the beats of her own heart. 1, 2, 3. Each beat was torture. Her heart pounded against her ribs from the inside like a fist. Temperature 44.2 degrees. Her brain was literally boiling inside her skull. She could feel neurons bursting one by one, memory erasing, she disappearing. In 3 minutes, she would cease to exist. But before death, she had to record this. Her hand wouldn't obey. Fingers trembled. The phone kept slipping. She clamped it between her palms and began typing. Voice input. The last one. If you're hearing this, it means I'm dead. Pause. Coughing. Blood on her lips. My name was Dr. Elena Sokolova, virologist. 3 weeks ago, I tried to stop the Eden 7 virus. I failed. Now I'm dying from it. Heartbeat, stronger than usual, more painful. But I must tell you the truth, what I've seen these past 3 weeks. Deep breath. The last normal one. It's not about the virus. Pause. It's about us. The first patient died in 40 minutes. Male, 34 years old. Healthy. Temperature, 41.8 degrees. He burned in my hands, literally. His skin was like red-hot metal. When I touched his forehead, I burned my fingers. By morning, 20 people had died. By evening, 200. In 3 days, 2,000. The healthcare system collapsed in a week. But that was only the first wave. Coughing. Strong. Something burst in her throat. The second wave began on day 10. Patients were recovering, temperature dropping. They opened their eyes, smiled. We rejoiced. Laughter, hysterical, brief. God, how we rejoiced. But then Nurse Olga, 30 years of experience, had seen everything, came to me in the corridor and whispered, "Something's wrong with them." Professor Mironov, quantum physics, Moscow State University. IQ 145. I showed him a photograph of his wife and daughter. His wife and daughter. He looked and said, "This is me, and woman, and child." Without emotion, like a robot. I asked, "This is your family?" He answered, "Family, yes, family," and handed the photo back. "Can I eat?" "Hungry." Long pause. I ran tests. IQ 52, 52. A doctor of science with the IQ of a mentally disabled child. By the end of the first month, the picture was this. 30% of humanity, dead, simply burned up. 40% Warren survived. But their minds, gone. IQ 50-70. They could walk, talk, work with their hands, but planning, critical thinking, abstraction, all erased. We called them vegetables. 25% clean, didn't get infected at all. 5% carriers, for now. And here began the most terrible thing. Not the virus. People. Coughing. Blood gushed from her mouth. She wiped her lips, continued. I watched how the clean looked at the vegetables, not with compassion, with calculation. First time. Week 3. A man came for his wife. She was a vegetable. He looked at her and asked, "Doctor, can she work?" I didn't understand. What? Work. Simple actions. Can she? Technically, yes, but why? My business collapsed, but we need to resume production. Can she glue labels, stack boxes? I wanted to hit him, but then I looked around. 20 more clean stood in the corridor, waiting for their vegetable relatives, and in all their eyes was the same gleam. Not love, calculation, heartbeat, weak, irregular. Less than a minute remained. 2 months later, the term vegetable economy appeared. Factories reopened. But the employees were different. Vegetables worked for pennies, didn't complain, didn't rebel, didn't ask for raises. They were ideal workers, and the clean became their masters. At first they called it a temporary measure, until we find a cure. But a month passed, 2, 3, and no one said temporary anymore, because it became profitable for everyone to keep it that way forever. Last normal breath. I tried to fight, wrote letters, appeals, screamed, but who listened? The government was silent. The UN was silent. Everyone was silent, because their relatives had also become vegetables and worked and brought profit. The slavery system was reborn in 3 months, and no one protested, because slaves couldn't protest, and the free didn't want to. Heart slowed. 30 beats per minute. 25, 20. Right now as I'm dying. Through the window of my ward, I see the street. A brigade of vegetables is working there, clearing rubble, 12 hours without a break, for bread and water. The supervisor, clean, is smoking and looking at his phone. One vegetable fell. Exhaustion. The supervisor walked over, kicked. The vegetable stood, continued working. 15 beats per minute. She saw a tunnel, white, inviting, but continued speaking. And I understood we built hell and called it economic recovery. 10 beats. But you know what's most terrible? 5 beats. The virus may not be finished. 3 beats. I studied blood samples from vegetables. The virus is still there. It didn't disappear. It's sleeping. 2 beats. What if it wakes up? 1 beat. What if this wasn't a disease, but evolution? Silence. Last phrase. In a whisper. Barely audible. What if the virus is waiting? Heart stopped. The phone fell from her hand, dropped to the floor. Screen cracked. The recording continued. Silence. Long. Dead. Then, the sound of a door opening. Footsteps of a nurse. A cry. Dr. Sokolova? Doctor? Silence. No. No, no, no. Code blue, code blue. Running feet. Screams. Resuscitation. All useless. Doctor. Elena Sokolova died at 11:47 p.m., March 15th, 2027. On the floor lay her phone with the recording. This recording was found 3 days later, posted on the internet. In a week, 500 million views. In a month, 2 billion. They called her the prophet of the apocalypse. But she wasn't a prophet. She was a doctor who saw the truth. The virus didn't turn us into monsters. We always were. It just gave us an excuse. P.S. at the end of the recording, a barely audible whisper. Not noticeable to all, but those who heard it will never forget. Sasha, son, Mommy couldn't save you. You're working construction now, for 1,000 rubles. You, my boy, who was supposed to become a pianist, forgive me, sunshine. I couldn't stop this world. I couldn't sob. I love you. The recording ended. But the story had only just begun. Part 1. Before Chapter 1. The last breakfast, Lyudmila Petrovna Sergeyeva woke at 6:47 a.m., 13 minutes before her alarm, as always. 62 years of life had taught her body Swiss watch precision. She lay in the darkness of her bedroom. The sun hadn't risen yet. March in Moscow woke slowly and listened to the breathing of her own body. Even. Calm. Her heart beat at the familiar rhythm of 72 beats per minute. Good rhythm for her age. She sat up. Her feet found slippers without conscious thought. Left, right. The robe hung on the chair. She remembered hanging it there yesterday, but didn't remember why she remembered these details so precisely. Habit. She'd worked with numbers, structures, systems her whole life. Her brain was accustomed to order. Bathroom. Light slashed across her eyes. She squinted until her pupils adjusted. The mirror showed a woman with short gray hair, a web of wrinkles around her eyes. She'd laughed a lot in life. Straight back, posture was a principle. Toothbrush, splat toothpaste, the taste of mint and fluoride. 2 minutes of brushing. She timed it by the clock on the wall. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Washing with cold water. Her facial skin tightened, refreshed. Cream. Light massage with fingertips. Circular motions from the center of forehead to temples, from nose to ears. Mother had taught her in childhood, Lyudochka, take care of your face from youth. Old age will come, but let it come beautifully. Mother died 20 years ago, but the voice remained. Kitchen. Turkish coffee pot, 2 tablespoons of freshly ground. Water from the filter. Not from the tap, never from the tap. Moscow water killed the taste. Slow heating on medium heat. Mustn't boil. Only raise to the first bubbles, remove, let settle, return. 3 times, ritual. The smell of coffee filled the kitchen. She'd remembered this smell since university. Night cramming before exams. Library, silence. Only the rustle of pages and the aroma of coffee from a thermos, bread in the toaster. Click. Hum of heating coils. 45 seconds. She knew her toaster like family. Exactly 45 seconds for the perfect golden crust. Butter from the refrigerator. It needed to sit for a minute to soften. Cold butter tore warm bread. She waited. Looked out the window. March. Snow almost melted. But the morning was gray, as always. Moscow woke outside the window. Rare cars, someone's quick step on the sidewalk, someone late for work. Janitor with broom. Old man. She'd seen him every morning for 3 years. Life flowed. Ordinary, predictable. Good life. The toaster clicked. Bread popped up. 2 perfect golden rectangles. She spread the butter. It melted, absorbing into the warm, porous crust. She sat at the table, poured coffee into a white cup with blue rim. Gift from Lena for her last birthday. First sip. Bitter. Hot. Right. She closed her eyes. This was the last normal breakfast of her life, but she didn't know yet. The phone rang at 7:34 when she was finishing her second toast. The screen showed, "Shh, Lena." Her daughter never called this early. Something happened. Lenochka? Instead of an answer, a sob. Lyudmila straightened. Lena, what happened? Mom. Voice trembling. Mom, have you watched the news? No. What's wrong? Turn on the TV. Now. Channel 1. Lyudmila took the remote. Pressed the button. The screen came alive. News studio. But not the usual studio. The anchor, usually impeccably groomed with perfect makeup, looked like she hadn't slept. Red eyes, broken voice, repeating for those just joining. An unknown virus, first detected 3 days ago in Southeast Asia, has spread to 147 countries worldwide. According to WHO, over 1 billion people are already infected. Symptoms. Sharp temperature rise to 44 degrees Celsius. Convulsions, loss of consciousness. The shot changed. Hospital corridor. People on the floor. Dozens, hundreds. Bodies covered with sheets. A doctor on camera, exhausted face, mask slipped to chin, was saying, "We can't cope. In the last 24 hours, more people have died here than in the entire past year." And they keep coming. Every minute. Lyudmila stared at the screen. Her hand with the cup froze halfway to her mouth. Mom! Lena's voice on the phone. Do you hear me? I hear you. Dima's father has a temperature of 42. The ambulance didn't come. Won't come. All lines are jammed. Mom, I'm scared. Lyudmila looked at her cup of coffee. At the toast with butter. At the morning window. All of it suddenly seemed unreal. Like a stage set. Like someone else's life. Lenochka, she said slowly, where are you now? Home. With Dima. His mom is crying on the phone. Dad. Dad isn't breathing anymore. Pause. Mom, I'm listening. Are you okay? Is your temperature normal? Lyudmila put her hand to her forehead. Cool. Normal. Normal. Thank God. Exhale. Mom, don't leave the house, please. Out there. People are dying in the streets. All right, I'll call tonight. Love you. Love you too, daughter. Dial tone. Lyudmila set the phone on the table, looked at her breakfast, at the cup with blue rim, at the unfinished toast, and thought, I wonder how many people ate breakfast this morning for the last time and didn't know. Then she stood, turned off the TV, and went to get dressed. If the world was ending, it was ending. But while she was alive, she would work. This was her rule. Chapter 2. Day 0, Dmitry Volkov. Dmitry Volkov hadn't slept for 2 days. He sat on the floor in the corridor of Botkin Hospital, staring at the intensive care door. Behind that door was his mother, or rather, what remained of her. A body, burning from within. Temperature 43.8. The doctor said, "Prepare for the worst." But Volkov couldn't prepare. He just sat and stared at the door, as if his gaze could keep his mother on this side. His father died yesterday, at home, in 40 minutes. Mom called him every 10 minutes. He heard her doing chest compressions over the phone, heard her voice breaking, heard her saying, "Sasha, don't go. Please don't go." But father left. And then her temperature started rising. The corridor was full of people. Not sick. Not yet. Just people waiting. Sitting on the floor, leaning against walls. Some crying, some silent. Some praying. A woman to Volkov's right, about 50, in a gray coat, whispered prayers. Lips moving soundlessly, hands clutching rosary beads, knuckles white from tension. To the left, a young guy, about 25. He wasn't crying, just staring at the floor, motionless, like a statue, sometimes flinching as if from electric shock. The intensive care door opened. All heads turned. A nurse came out, tired. Uniform wrinkled, on her sleeve, a brown stain. Blood. "Volkov?" she asked. Voice like a robot's. No emotion. They'd run out, probably. Volkov stood, his legs numb from sitting so long. He swayed. "Me?" The nurse looked at him. In her eyes, pity. Professional. Exhausted pity. "Your mother," Volkov knew, even before she finished. He just knew. "I died 3 minutes ago." He nodded. Can I see her?" "No. Quarantine. The body is highly contagious the first day after, I understand." The nurse handed him a bag. Plastic. Inside, his mother's belongings. Phone, ring, watch. Volkov took the bag. The cold plastic burned his fingers. "My condolences," the nurse said, and returned to intensive care. The door closed. Volkov stood holding the bag, not understanding what to do next. In 2 days, he'd lost both parents. In 2 days, the world had become different. Outside was hell. Not metaphorical. Real. Ambulances stood with sirens on. Dozens. There were more than they could process. Drivers just sat inside and smoked, waiting. On the sidewalk, people. Some lying. Some sitting, leaning against the wall. Some running somewhere, screaming into phones. Volkov walked to the metro on autopilot. Stretchers rushed past him. On the stretchers, a man, jerking in convulsions. Paramedics running. One said to the other, "This one won't make it to intensive care." Volkov didn't turn around. The metro was closed. On the escalators, a banner. Closed until further notice. He took out his phone, called a taxi. Wait time, more than 2 hours. He started walking. At home, Lena met him in the hallway, hugged him, silently. He stood in her embrace and felt that inside emptiness. Not pain, just emptiness. "My condolences," she whispered. "Thank you." They sat in the kitchen. Lena made tea. Volkov didn't drink, just held the cup in his hands. The warmth soothed. "I called Mom," Lena said. "She's fine. Temperature normal. That's good. Dima, the doctors say." "What do they say?" She fell silent. Then, that the virus is very contagious. Incubation period. From several hours to 3 days. Whoever didn't get sick in 3 days, most likely won't get sick at all. I was with Mom for 2 days. I know. If I'm infected, don't. Volkov looked at her. "Len, if my temperature rises, you leave. Immediately. Hear me? Dima. Promise." She was silent. "Promise." "I promise," she whispered. They sat in silence. Then Volkov said, "You know what I'm thinking about?" "What?" "About the last conversation with Mom." She said, "Sorry I wasn't a perfect mother." And I answered, "Mom, don't talk nonsense." Pause. Those were the last words. "Don't talk nonsense." Not "I love you," not "you are the best," but "don't talk nonsense." Lena took his hand. She knew. How? She's a mother. Mothers always know. Volkov wanted to believe, but couldn't. Chapter 3, Day 4, New Reality. 4 days later, the world changed permanently. The statistics were 30% infected, died 40%, recovered, or didn't recover. No one understood. 25%, didn't get infected, 5%. Carriers, infected but without symptoms. Volkov was among the 25%. Lena Chaim, too. Lyudmila Petrovna wasn't. Lena brought her mother to them on the 5th day. Volkov opened the door, and for the first time in 5 days, saw his mother-in-law. She looked normal, not sick, not emaciated, just Lyudmila Petrovna. Gray hair, straight back, familiar coat. "Hello, Lyudmila Petrovna," he said. She looked at him for a long time, as if trying to remember who this was, then nodded. "Hello, Dmitri." The voice was correct, but flat, as if she were reading text from a page. They went to the kitchen. Lena sat her mother at the table, put a cup of tea in front of her. "Mom, do you want tea?" Lyudmila looked at the cup. "Tea. Good. Drink." She took the cup and sipped, slowly, mechanically. Volkov and Lena exchanged glances. "Mom?" Lena began cautiously. "How do you feel?" Lyudmila set down the cup. Thought. For a long time. "Good. Feel good. Do you remember what happened a week ago?" Pause. "Week. Had temperature. High. Hospital. Then fine. Do you remember what we talked about last Sunday?" Even longer pause. Then, "Don't remember. Is it important?" Lena took her mother's hand. "Mom, we argued about Dostoevsky. You said Raskolnikov was logical, remember?" Lyudmila frowned. Her face showed an expression of strain, as if she was trying to remember something but couldn't. "Dostoevsky," she repeated. "Writer. Good writer. And what did he write?" Silence. Long. Agonizing. "Don't remember." Lena closed her eyes. Volkov stood. "I'll make more tea." He went to the sink, turned on the water, loud, so he wouldn't hear Lena crying. Chapter 4. Day 10. First test. They sat in the psychologist's office. Small office in clinic number 5. Beige walls. Poster on the wall. Health is not just the absence of disease. Smell of antiseptic and old books. The psychologist, a woman about 40, tired face, glasses on a chain, leafed through papers. Lyudmila Petrovna Sergeeva. Before illness, candidate of economic sciences, head of accounting. She raised her eyes. Correct? Lyudmila nodded. Correct. Good. We'll conduct several tests. Just answer as you can. Don't worry. Lena sat next to her mother, held her hand. The psychologist took out a sheet with questions. First question. What year is it? 2027. Month? Pause. March? Date? Long pause. Don't remember. That's okay. Next question. Who is the president of Russia? Lyudmila opened her mouth, closed it, thought. There was a person. Forgot the name. The psychologist wrote something. Who is this woman next to you? Lyudmila looked at Lena. Lena. Daughter. My daughter? What's her full name? Pause long. Agonizing. Lena, Lyudmila repeated. Just Lena. Elena, her name was Elena Dmitrievna. But Lyudmila didn't remember her own daughter's patronymic. Lena squeezed her mother's hand tighter. The psychologist continued. Solve this. What is 17 plus 8? Lyudmila frowned, stared into space, lips moving, counting. 25. Correct. Now harder. What is 43 minus 17? Long pause. Very long. Don't know, the psychologist wrote. Last question. What did you do yesterday evening? Lyudmila blinked. Yesterday? Yes. Silence. Don't remember. Don't remember at all? No. The psychologist set aside the papers, removed her glasses, rubbed the bridge of her nose. Lyudmila Petrovna, I must tell you something. Your EQ, how much? Lena asked. The psychologist looked at her, then at Lyudmila. Before illness, your mother had an IQ of 142. That's very high. Now? She paused. How much? Lena repeated. 54. Lena covered her face with her hands. Is that a lot? Lyudmila asked. The psychologist looked at her. Something flickered in her eyes. Pity? Sympathy? Professional detachment? It's normal, she lied. Lyudmila nodded. Good. Normal is good. Lena stood, quickly, went out to the corridor. Volkov was waiting there, saw her face, and understood everything, hugged her. She sobbed into his shoulder, quietly. So her mother in the office wouldn't hear. Dimochka, she whispered, my mom. She was the smartest person I knew. She spoke 5 languages. She quoted Shakespeare by heart, and now I know. She doesn't remember my patronymic Dima. My patronymic. Volkov stroked her back, silent. What could he say? The office door opened. Lyudmila came out. Calm. Looked at them. Lena is crying? Why? Lena wiped her tears, turned, smiled tensely. Everything's fine, Mom, just tired. Tired, yes, tiredness is bad. Need to sleep. They walked to the exit. Lyudmila suddenly stopped. Looked at Lena. Lena? Yes, Mom. I forgot something. Something important. I feel it, but don't remember what. Her voice suddenly became different. Alive. Human. I'm scared, Lenochka. I feel that there in my head, something is there, but I can't reach it. Like a door is closed, and I'm knocking, but no one opens. Lena hugged her. It will open, Mom. It will definitely open. Lyudmila nodded. Then the light in her eyes went out. Home. Want to go home? Tired. And they walked on. Chapter 5. Month 2. The offer Volkov received a call from Gromov on Wednesday. Volkov, come see me. We need to talk. Gromov's office. Panoramic window. View of 3 workshops. Leather armchairs. Smell of expensive tobacco and power. Gromov sat behind the desk. Overweight. Red face. Predator's smile. Sit. Volkov sat. Listen, Gromov began. I have a problem. Half the employees died. Another 40%. Vegetables. Production stopped. I'm losing millions. I understand. You know what vegetables are? Those who recovered but got dumber. Yes. IQ dropped to 50, 70. Gromov leaned back in his chair. But they can work. Simple work. With their hands. Understand? Volkov was silent. I have 82 vegetables among former employees. They sit at home. Do nothing. Get welfare from the government. Pennies. Useless. And I want to bring them back. How? Offer them work. Simple. Gluing labels. Stacking boxes. What they can do. Volkov nodded. Sounds reasonable. The question is money. Gromov leaned forward. Before illness, they earned from 40 to 150,000. Now I can't pay them that much. They're not those specialists anymore. How much are you planning? 5,000 rubles per month? Volkov froze. What? 5,000. Plus lunch. Plus a place in the dormitory. That's 30 times less. They're vegetables, Volkov. Gromov slammed his fist on the desk. They have the IQ of children. They can't plan, can't count, can't think. They're just working hands, and I pay for hands. 5,000 is fair. Volkov was silent. Listen, Gromov softened. I understand, sounds harsh. But it's the market, supply and demand. I have hundreds of vegetables standing at my gates. All want to work. I choose. If someone doesn't agree to 5,000, I'll find someone who will. This is exploitation. This is business. Silence. Then Gromov said, I need someone to manage them. Smart, organized, without sentimentality. You fit. Salary 150,000. Deal? 150,000 per month. Volkov's family now had only Lena and his mother-in-law. Mother-in-law didn't work. Lena didn't either. Her company went bankrupt. Savings were melting. 150,000 solved all problems. But What if they don't want to work for 5,000? Gromov smirked. They will. They're vegetables. They don't understand it's little. They just want to be useful. You tell them, here's work, here's money. They'll agree, because they can't calculate alternatives. Volkov sat silently. Inside, a war raged. On one side, 150,000. On the other, conscience. Conscience lost. Deal, he said quietly. Gromov smiled. Excellent. Start Monday. We'll bring the first batch of vegetables tomorrow. By the way, he pulled out a list. Are there relatives of your acquaintances here? Volkov took the list, scanned it. On the 20th line, he saw Sergeyeva Lyudmila Petrovna. His hand trembled. This is my mother-in-law. Oh, Gromov clapped his hands. Even better. Relatives work harder. Did she agree? I didn't ask. Ask. 5,000 plus bed plus food. Normal offer. Volkov folded the list. Put it in his pocket. I'll ask. He left the office. In the corridor, he stopped, leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. He'd just agreed to exploit his mother-in-law. For 150,000. He closed his eyes and thought for the first time, when did I become a monster? But there was no answer. Chapter 6. Same week conversation with mother-in-law. They sat in the kitchen. 3 of them. Volkov, Lena, Lyudmila. On the table, tea. No one drinking. Lyudmila Petrovna, Volkov began. I have an offer for you. Lyudmila looked at him with empty eyes. Work. At the factory. Simple work. Gluing labels. Work, she repeated. Good. Working is good. Salary? He swallowed. 5,000 rubles per month. Lena flinched. Looked at him. How much? 5,000. Dima, she earned 300. I know. And you're offering her 5? Volkov didn't look at his wife. Looked at his mother-in-law. Lyudmila Petrovna, do you agree? Lyudmila thought. For a long time. 5,000. Is that a lot? No, Lena said. Enough, Volkov said simultaneously. Lyudmila looked at her daughter, then at her son-in-law, not understanding the contradiction. Work, she finally said. Want to work? Be useful. Lena covered her face with her hands. Volkov nodded. Good. You start Monday. He stood, left the kitchen. Lena caught him in the hallway. Dima, what's happening? Work. 5,000 is mockery. It's the market rate. For whom? For vegetables. Silence. Lena stared at him for a long time, then whispered, You called my mother a vegetable. Len, I didn't. You called my mother a vegetable. Volkov was silent. How much did they pay you for this? What? How much? For managing vegetables? How much? 150,000. 150. She nodded. 150,000 to exploit my mother. Who will get 5? 30 times less. We need money. Don't you dare! Scream. Don't you dare justify it with money! She turned, went to the bedroom, slammed the door. Volkov remained in the hallway, alone. He looked at his hands, clean, ordinary hands. But for some reason it seemed there was blood on them. Part 2. The Fog. Chapter 7 month. 3-1 day of Lyudmila, Povi from inside. 6 a.m. alarm. Lyudmila opened her eyes. Ceiling, gray, crack in the corner. She saw this crack every morning. Didn't remember from where. Just knew. This is her ceiling. Got up. Room, small. 4 beds. On other beds, women sleeping, snoring, smells of sweat and cheap soap. Dormitory. She didn't remember how she got here. Just remembered this was her place now. Clothes on the chair, gray uniform. She put it on, automatically. Hands remembered movements, even if brain didn't remember reasons. Washroom in the corridor. Queue, 10 women, all silent, waiting. Lyudmila got in line. Woman ahead, elderly, gray-haired, turned. Good morning. Good morning, Lyudmila answered. How did you sleep? Pause. Lyudmila didn't remember how she slept. only remembered that she lay down and got up, in between emptiness. Well, well is good. The woman nodded and turned away. The line moved slowly. Lyudmila looked out the window. Dawn. Pink sky. Beautiful. Something inside responded. Warm, distant. She remembered that she once loved sunrises. Didn't remember why, didn't remember where she saw them. Just remembered the feeling. Sunrise, good. Her turn. Water cold. Hurts the face. She washed. Quickly. Dried with towel. Rough, smelling of bleach. 7 a.m. cafeteria. Long table. 100 people, all in gray uniforms, eating silently. Lyudmila took a tray, got in line for food. Porridge, gray, watery. Bread, black, stale. Tea, weak. No sugar. She sat at the table. Next to her, a man, about 50, eating slowly, looking at his plate. Lyudmila began eating. Porridge tasteless. Like paste, she chewed, swallowed, without thinking. Bread tough. Jaws hurt from chewing. Tea warm. That's pleasant. The man next to her suddenly said, I used to love coffee. Lyudmila looked at him. Coffee, he repeated, with milk and sugar. 2 cubes. Pause. Don't remember when I last drank it, but I remember the taste. Something clicked in Lyudmila's head. Coffee. She also remembered coffee. Turkish pot. Slow heating. Smell. Warm cup in hands. Morning. Kitchen. Window. Someone was there. Nearby. Who? She tried to remember. Strained. Fog. Dense. Impenetrable. Don't remember, she said aloud. What? The man asked. Who drank coffee with me? The man nodded. I don't remember much either. But sometimes something breaks through, like flashes, then darkness again. They finished eating in silence. 8 a.m. workshop, number 2, labels, large hall, 100 tables, 100 people, all gluing labels. Lyudmila sat at her table. Number 47. In front of her, stack of labels. Next to her, bottles. Plastic, empty. Task simple. Take label. Remove protective film. Stick on bottle evenly. Repeat. She took the first label. Fingers moved automatically. Remove film. Stick. Smooth check done. Next, and another, and another. Hands worked by themselves. Brain switched off. This was pleasant. No need to think. No need to remember. No need to strain. Just do. Mechanically. Again and again. Time disappeared. She didn't know how much passed. Hour, 2, 10, just glued. Label, film, bottle. Label, film, bottle. Label, film, bottle. 12 p.m. Break. Bell. Lyudmila raised her head. In front of her, stack of finished bottles, tall. She didn't remember gluing so many. Just hands did, by themselves. Stood. Legs numb. Back hurt. Walked to the exit. Corridor. Window. She stopped. Looked out the window. Yard. Trees. Sun. Spring. Something inside stirred. Warm. Distant. Spring. Good. Why? Didn't remember. Just knew. A woman stopped next to her. Young. About 30. Looked out the window. Beautiful, she said. Beautiful, Lyudmila repeated. They stood silently. Watched. Then the woman asked, Do you remember how spring smells? Lyudmila thought. Spring. Smell. Something was there. In memory? Deep. Freshness? Wet earth? Melting snow? First leaves? I remember, she whispered. Me too. The woman smiled. Strange, isn't it? We don't remember names. faces. But we remember the smell of spring. Lyudmila nodded. Yes. Strange. They stood a bit more. Then the bell. Break ended. Lyudmila returned to table 47. Label, film, bottle. Label, film, bottle. To infinity. 6 am. End of shift. Bell. Lyudmila stopped. Fingers hurt, back burned, eyes watered. 10 hours, without break. Only an hour for lunch. She stood, slowly, walked to the exit. At the exit, a man, young, in a suit. He watched the workers, writing something in a notebook. Lyudmila walked past. He stopped her. Sergeyeva? She turned. Yes, working well. Keep it up. He smiled. Quickly, formally. Lyudmila looked at him. Familiar face. Very familiar. Who is this? Fog. Thank you, she said, and walked on. The man watched her go. His face was sad. Lyudmila didn't see. Already walked away. 7 p.m. dinner. Soup, watery, cabbage and potato. Bread. Stale. Tea. Lyudmila ate. Silently. The same woman from morning sat next to her. Gray-haired. How was your day? Good. Worked. Yes. Work is good. Pause. You know what I remembered today? What? My son. I had a son. Little. Curly-haired, laughed loudly. She smiled. Don't remember his name, but I remember the laugh. Lyudmila nodded. She also had someone. Who? A girl. Then a young woman. Then a woman. Laughed too, hugged. Called her, what? Fog. I also remember someone, Lyudmila said. Don't know who, but I remember that I loved. The woman put her hand on her shoulder. That means love remained, even if names left. They finished eating in silence. 9 p.m. Bed. Lyudmila lay down. Ceiling. Crack. Around. Snoring. Someone sighs silence. She closed her eyes. One day ended. Tomorrow will be the same. Labels, bottles, fog. But something inside resisted. Something screamed, this is wrong. You shouldn't be here. You were someone else. But the voice was quiet, and the fog swallowed it. Lyudmila fell asleep. And in the fog, in the very depths, somewhere there behind a closed door, a woman named Lyudmila Petrovna Sergeyeva, candidate of economic sciences, mother, person, beat against the wall and screamed, but no one heard. Continuing translation, chapters 8-16 plus. Epilogue. Chapter 8, Month 7. Volkov's Empire. Dmitry Volkov was no longer a manager. He was an owner. Gromov died in the 6th month, not from the virus, from a heart attack, his 3rd. His heart couldn't take it. The company was transferred to Volkov. Now he had 3 factories, 100 employees, of them clean, 120. The rest, vegetable salary, 2 million per month. Apartment, penthouse in the center. Car, BMW X7. Life, empty. Lena left him in the 5th month. They didn't argue. One morning he just woke up and her things were gone. On the table, a note, Dima, I can't anymore. Can't watch you turn into someone I don't recognize. Can't sleep in an apartment bought with money from slavery. Sorry. Lena. He sat with this note for an hour, then folded it, put it in a desk drawer, and went to work. Because work didn't judge. Work brought money. Volkov's office was on the 5th floor. Panoramic window, view of all 3 workshops. He could see everyone, always. Now he stood at the window with coffee in hand and looked down. Workshop Nurbert 2. Lyudmila, at table 47. 7 months she'd worked there. He saw how she'd lost weight, how her back had stooped, how her movements had slowed. She's 62, 10 hours a day, standing, for 5,000. He raised her salary to 10. Conscience was silent, but not for long. The secretary entered. Dmitry Olegovich, you have visitors. Who? Dr. Korneva. And 10 more people. They say it's important. Volkov frowned. Let them in. 11 people entered. In front, a woman about 40, thin, smart eyes, tired. Dmitry Olegovich Volkov? Yes. Anna Korneva, virologist. These are my colleagues. We need to talk with you. I'm listening. Korneva sat. The others remained standing. We found a cure. Volkov froze. What? A cure for the virus? Or rather, for the consequences. We can return the vegetables' minds? Silence. Long. Then, is this a joke? No. We tested on 50 volunteers. It works. 70% full recovery, 20% partial, 10% no effect. Volkov sat. You can return them? Yes. All of them? Most. Volkov looked out the window, at the workshop, at Lyudmila. Something inside clenched. If she returns, if she remembers 7 months of slave labor for 10,000, she'll kill him. Or worse, forgive him. Why are you telling me this? He asked. We need money, mass production, laboratories, infrastructure. The government is silent. We're appealing to business. Korneva leaned forward. You own 3 factories. 1,000 vegetables work for you. You can finance this. How much? 100 million rubles. Volkov laughed. Shortly, bitterly. 100 million. To return my employees' minds, so they remember how I exploited them. So they sue me or kill me. You can compensate. Compensate? Scream. 7 months of slavery with what? Money? Apologies? Korneva was silent. No, Volkov said quietly. No money, but get out. All of you. They didn't move. Get out. They left. Volkov remained alone, looked out the window. Lyudmila was gluing labels, not knowing that he'd just refused to cure her. He finished his coffee. Bitter. Like all his life. Chapter 9. Month 9. Underground Lena found the return a month after leaving. Underground organization. Leader, Korneva. Goal. Treat vegetables for free. On donations. Lena came to a meeting in a basement. 15 people. All had lost loved ones. We need money, Korneva was saying. 1 vial of medicine costs 50,000 rubles. We can make 10 vials per week. It's a drop. I have no money, someone said. Me neither. Me neither. Lena was silent, then said, my husband has some. Everyone turned. How much? Korneva asked. More than 100 million. In accounts. Will he give it? Lena laughed, bitterly. No. He refused you, I know. He's afraid the vegetables will wake up and remember. Then how? Lena looked at Korneva. I'll steal it. 3 days later, she entered the penthouse. She still had keys. Dima at work. Until evening. She went to the office, turned on the computer. She remembered the password. He hadn't changed it since their wedding, Lena 1990. Logged into the bank client. Account 143,000 rubles. She created a transfer, 50,000. Recipient, LLC the return. Her hand trembled over the send button. This is theft, but it's also salvation. She pressed. Transfer sent. Lena closed the computer, left the apartment. Dmitry will find out tonight. But it'll be too late. In the evening, Volkov stared at his phone screen. Bank notification. 50,000 rubles debited from account. 34. He called the bank. Yes, Dmitry Olegovich. Transfer confirmed. From your IP. I didn't send it, but the password is correct. And confirmation code? He hung up. Lena stole 50 million for medicine to cure the vegetables, including her mother. Who will remember how he exploited her? Volkov sat in the silence of the penthouse, surrounded by expensive furniture bought with the blood of vegetables, and cried for the first time in 7 months. Chapter 10. Month 11. Awakening. Lyudmila woke up. Not like usual. Not foggy. Not mechanically, but sharply, clearly, like from a slap. She opened her eyes. Ceiling. Crack. Where am I? Dormitory. Bed. Gray walls. What is this? She sat up, looked around. 3 women on neighboring beds, sleeping. Who are they? Memory turned on. Slowly, like an old computer. Virus, illness, temperature, fog. And then, oh God. Oh God. Everything came back. 11 months. She remembered. Everything. Every day, every label, every humiliation. She remembered how she couldn't remember her daughter's name, how she didn't know who the president was, how she glued labels for 10 hours, for 10,000. She remembered the man in the suit, young, familiar. Dmitri, her son-in-law, who paid her pennies, who owned the factory, who got rich off her. Lyudmila covered her face with her hands and sobbed, quietly, so as not to wake her neighbors. Sobbed from shame, from anger, from relief. She had returned. An hour later, she left the dormitory. Outside, dawn. Lyudmila stood and breathed. Air, cold, fresh. She remembered how she loved dawns, and knew why. Because it's a beginning of a new day, a new life. She looked at the factory. Gray building, 3 workshops. 11 months she'd worked there like a slave. Never again. She walked to the exit. The guard stopped her. Sergeyeva, where to? Leaving. Shift starts at 8. There won't be a shift. She walked past. The guard didn't stop her. Lyudmila walked through morning Moscow. Free, for the first time in 11 months. Chapter 11. Same day, meeting Lena opened the door and froze. On the threshold stood her mother. Not a vegetable, not an empty-eyed doll. Mother, with living eyes, with posture, with humanity. Mom? Lenotchka. They embraced, both crying. You came back, Lena whispered. You came back. Yes. Medicine. Someone injected it yesterday in the dormitory. Woke up today and remembered everything. They entered the apartment, sat in the kitchen. Lyudmila looked at her daughter. You left Dmitri? Yes. Because of me? Because of who he became. Lyudmila nodded. I remember everything, Lena. Every day, I was in the fog. But I saw. I understood it was wrong, but couldn't stop. Tears. And he knew. Dmitri knew and continued. I stole 50 million from him. For medicine. For you and the others. Lyudmila looked at her daughter. For a long time. You stole? Yes. For me? For everyone. But yes, for you too. Lyudmila hugged her. Thank you, daughter. You saved me. They sat silently. Then Lyudmila asked, how many of us were cured? About 500 so far. Will be more. Korneva is producing medicine faster. They all remember. Yes. And all know who exploited them? Yes. Lyudmila stood, walked to the window. There will be blood, Lena. What? People won't forgive. 11 months of slavery, humiliation, penny wages. They'll remember every insult, and they'll want revenge. Mom, you can't... Lena, Lyudmila turned. I spent 11 months in hell. I worked to exhaustion for pennies. I was fed slop, called a vegetable. And my son-in-law, got rich off me. And you think I should forgive? Silence. I don't know if I'll forgive, Lyudmila said quietly, but others won't. There will be an uprising. Soon. Chapter 12, Month 12 Council of the Clean. 20 of the wealthiest clean gathered in the conference hall, including Volkov. The chairman, Viktor Gromov, the deceased's brother, stood. Gentlemen, we have a crisis. There's a cure. In the last month, 1,000 vegetables were cured. And they remember. Volkov sat silently. They remember salaries, conditions, everything. And they're angry. 3 factory owners have already been killed by former employees. Lynched. Noise in the hall. "We need to act," someone shouted. "Ban the medicine. Stop production. Arrest Korneva." Gromov raised his hand. "Calm down. We're voting." Question. Stop the spread of medicine at any cost. Who's for? 18 hands rose. Volkov didn't raise his. One more. Semyonov also didn't. 18 for, 2 against. Decision made. Volkov stood. "Do you understand what this means?" "What?" Gromov asked. "You've sentenced millions of people to stay in the fog forever, to preserve your profit. We're preserving order. You're preserving slavery," but he screamed. "And calling it order." Volkov left. He knew. They'd kill him soon, too. Part 3. Retribution in Chapter 13. Month 13. First blood Volkov's factory. Workshop 3. Loading. Andrei, former architect cured a week ago, was working, carrying boxes, waiting for the moment. Supervisor Igor, the same one who beat vegetables, turned his back. Andrei picked up a crowbar. Hit. Once. Igor fell. Andrei kept hitting. 2, 3, 4. Blood on the floor, on the walls, on his hands. Someone screaming. Andrei didn't hear. He saw only Igor, who beat him for months, every day, 15 strikes. Igor wasn't moving anymore. Andrei stopped, looked at the crowbar in his hands, at the blood, at the dead supervisor, and said quietly, "You deserved it." He was arrested an hour later, but the seeds were sown. A week later, 5 more murders. 2 weeks, 20. A month, 100. Across the country, vegetables were waking up, remembering and taking revenge. Not on everyone. Only on those who beat, who humiliated, who exploited. Supervisors, managers, owners. The hunt began. Chapter 14. Month 14. They came for him. Volkov was home when they came. Penthouse. Evening. Alone. Knock on the door. He opened it. On the threshold, 20 people. All familiar faces. Petrov, Maria, Victor, and Lyudmila. Volkov stepped back. Lyudmila Petrovna. She was silent, stared at him. Cold eyes. Petrov entered. "Dmitry Olegovich Volkov, you're accused of exploiting 1,000 people, of slave labor, of the death of 18 workers from exhaustion. Do you admit guilt?" Volkov was silent. "Do you admit?" "Yes," he whispered, louder. "Yes, I admit it." Lyudmila stepped forward. 11 months, Dmitry. 11 months I worked for you. 10 hours a day. For 10,000, I'm your mother-in-law. Your wife's mother. I raised Lena. Loved you both. And you, voice broke. You used me. Volkov lowered his head. Forgive me. Don't you dare. Scream. Don't you dare ask for forgiveness. Did you think about this when you signed my salary? When you bought a car with money from my labor? When you watched me lose weight? I didn't know how to stop. You're lying, Maria. No, you didn't want to. It was profitable for you. Silence. Then Petrov said, "You will work, like we worked, 14 hours, for bread and water. 1 year. Maybe then you'll understand." They grabbed him. Volkov didn't resist. At the door he turned, looked at Lyudmila. "I truly regret it." She looked at him for a long time, then said, "You know what's most terrible, Dmitry? Not that you exploited me, but that you adapted. First day you suffered. Second, less. By month's end, not at all. You adapted to evil, like everyone. And that's more terrible than any cruelty." She turned away. Volkov was taken away. Chapter 15. 1 year later, worker Volkov factory. Workshop number 3. Loading. Dmitry Volkov carried boxes, 35 kilograms each, 14 hours a day. Back hurt. Hands trembled, legs buckled. Nearby worked other convicted, former owners, managers, supervisors, all sentenced to forced labor. 1 year, no early release. Supervisor, Petrov, former vegetable, watched. Volkov, faster. You haven't met your quota. Volkov was silent. Lifted a box, carried it. His legs buckled. He fell. The box crashed down. Petrov approached. Get up! I can't, Volkov whispered. Get up! Volkov tried. Couldn't. Petrov looked at him. For a long time. Then squatted next to him. Does it hurt? Volkov nodded. Good. Let it hurt. It hurt me more. 11 months. You only have a year. Pause. Get up, Volkov, or you'll stay here another year. Volkov stood, slowly, with difficulty, lifted the box, walked on. In the evening, he lay on a bunk in the common barracks. 30 people in the room, snoring, groans, smell of sweat. Volkov stared at the ceiling. Lyudmila was right. He understood. Not with his head, with his body. Understood what it meant to work to exhaustion. For pennies, without choice. Without dignity. He understood. But it was too late. Chapter 16. 2 years later, Lyudmila sat on a park bench. Autumn. Yellow leaves, cold wind. A woman sat next to her. Gray-haired, familiar face. The same one from the dormitory. Hello, Lyudmila said. Hello. Do you remember me? Yes. We glued labels together. The woman nodded. I remembered my son. Called him. He didn't recognize my voice. Thought it was scammers. Tears. Had to meet. Explain, he cried. Asked forgiveness for not finding me sooner, but how could he? I was a vegetable. He thought I was lost forever. I'm glad you found each other. Did you forgive your son-in-law? Lyudmila looked at the leaves. I don't know. He served his year. Now lives in a village. Teaches children. Sends letters once a month. Asks for forgiveness. And I read them. But don't answer. Why? Because I don't know what to answer. Forgive? But how to forgive 11 months? Not forgive, but he was punished. What more? The woman put her hand on her shoulder. Maybe forgiveness isn't in words. Maybe it just comes. Someday. Lyudmila nodded. Maybe. They sat silently, watched the leaves. Epilogue 5 years later, Dmitry Volkov stood before a classroom. 30 children, 13, 14 years old. On the board he wrote, The Vegetable War, 2027-2032, Children. Today we talk about the darkest period in human history. Not because a virus killed billions, but because the survivors became monsters. A hand raised. Did you participate? Volkov nodded. Yes. On which side? The bad one. Silence. I was one of those who exploited vegetables. I paid pennies, worked them to death, got rich from their labor. Pause. I'm a monster teaching you not to be monsters. Another hand. Do you regret it? Volkov looked out the window. Every day. Did they forgive you? No. I don't know. Maybe I don't deserve it. What if you could go back? Volkov turned to the class. I want to say I would change everything, but I'm not sure. And that's the most terrible thing, because when you're in a system of evil, it's easy to adapt. First day, you suffer. Second, less. By month's end, you're used to it. And suddenly, you're no longer human. You're a cog who says, I was just doing my job. Silence. That's why I teach you, Volkov continued. Not facts, not dates, but how not to become like me. How not to adapt to evil. How to remain human even when everything around says, this is okay. Bell. Children dispersed. Volkov remained alone. Looked out the window. Outside, Autumn. Village. Silence. Good life. Empty, but deserved. On the desk lay a letter. From Lyudmila. He hadn't opened it for 3 days. Now he took it. Opened it. Inside, one line. Dmitri. I cannot forgive. But I'm no longer angry. That's all I can give. Lyudmila. Volkov folded the letter. Put it in the desk drawer. This isn't forgiveness. But it's something. Maybe enough. Or maybe not. He didn't know. But he continued living. Continued teaching. Continued remembering. Because memory is the only thing he had left. The end.